The following program may contain adult language and mature subject matter and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Reality Radio 101, its advertisers and sponsors, or its listening audience. Listener discretion is advised.
Let's ride, heading up 35. One way, we're headed at 90K. Over the two-lane causeway. We'll go left, it's gonna be a classy day. Kickstands down, head on over to the band stage. Kick back and listen to the band play. Whoa, whoa, let's take a ride today. Whoa, whoa, across the causeway. Rockin' day. Whoa, whoa, the classy chassis way.
Good evening and welcome to this House of Musicians with your host, singer, songwriter, and founder of the band Inner City Outlaws, the Baritone Bear, Barry Smith, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board right now, send us an email. Our email addresses are thishouseofmusicians@gmail.com or instudio101@gmail.com. And now, right to your host of this House of Musicians, Barry Smith.
Hey, great listeners. Welcome to this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101. We hope you enjoy the next hour with us as we do our small part to help promote musicians, bands, and venues. Gary, how are you?
Barry, I am fine.
I am glad to hear that, Gary, and thank you for that wonderful introduction.
You're welcome.
It's just like, what are we on now, Gary? We're on 48 shows, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something up there.
We're almost at 50. When we get to 50, we're going to celebrate.
That'd be great.
Okay, let the listener know what's going on here this evening. I know a lot of people are expecting Robin Benedict. Unfortunately, she could not make the show tonight. And I had another guest that was originally going to make the show, AJ, and she got a gig for the night. So she sent me a very nice email saying, you know, I'm very sorry, but I have a gig tomorrow night. It's a spur of the moment thing. I want to take the gig. And of course I said, absolutely, AJ, take the gig. You know, you're going to go out, you're going to play, you're going to have fun, and you're going to make some money, much more important. So we are going to reschedule both of those guests. So that's AJ. We're going to reschedule, and Robin Benedict was good to be on too, but she can't make it this evening either. So, but I do thank Robin for saying yes last night because it was such a spur of the moment. So instead, we have on the show tonight the producer of who helps me. I call him Dave Go-To because he helps me with all of the radio stuff that we do, and he's the producer of this House of Musicians TV on YouTube. Folks, please help me welcome Dave Go-To Clayton. What's up, Dave?
Hey, thanks for that. Was way more polite than I was anticipating. I'm not used to that.
Well,
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I thought I'd be nice to you tonight for a
First time for everyone.
Yeah, there you go. Dave, what's going on in your life, man? Let's talk about Dave for a bit. First of all, thank you for everything you do for this House of Musicians radio show and TV, YouTube TV, This House of Musicians TV. I appreciate everything you do. Folks, let me plug that while I have Dave on the line for this evening's show. Check out This House of Musicians on YouTube. We have some live interviews. Well, they were live at the time. Of course, they're on film now. But Dave has totally produced a live interview that we did with Ed Pilling and Greg Godovitz, and also one with Terry Draper from Klaatu. Both amazing interviews, 1 hour interviews, and Dave came out with all his production equipment, lights, cameras, actions, all that stuff, and we did these live videos. So they were absolutely amazing. Terry Draper, let's talk about Terry Draper's video, Dave.
Sure.
How cool was that? We went up to Terry. I sent him a message. I go, Terry Draper from Klaatu, how are you? First, we had him on the show. A couple of days later, I sent him a message. I go, Mr. Draper, would you be interested in doing a sit-down live interview? He said, I sure would. Dave, we went up there. When we got up there, he goes, why don't we just get on the pontoon boat and go out and do it in the middle of the lake? And we did. Dave, tell me how cool that was.
Oh, it was insane. I mean, from my perspective, when you're sitting back and you know you have these interviews coming up and in front of these guys like Ed Pilling and Greg Godovitz and Terry Draper, you don't want to look like a cheese dick. You want to look like you sort of have your shit together, right? So you're coming up with some sort of shooting plan and what you got going on and whatnot, and you just show up there and you start, scouting locations, what looks good for a backdrop and this, that, and the other thing. The last thing you're anticipating is being out in a party barge spinning circles, So that was interesting as hell. But Terry could not have been more entertaining. He could not have been more hospitable. His stories were amazing and fascinating. It was an incredible day. And the weather, I mean, geez, we were out there, it was the end of November, and we're floating around, like I said, a party barge, just, spinning circles wherever the current took us. It was just incredible. The whole day was just magical. And I hope a certain degree of that made it into the video and conveyed its way through there. I know some of the Klaatu fans in the Klaatu Facebook groups and whatnot, the response has been very favorable. So that's encouraging.
Absolutely, buddy. And we were talking about his stories. I remember him telling us a story, which is also on the video, about him being somewhere. Was it in England? I can't remember. Oh, forgive me. He was in a studio playing a pinball machine, and in walks Dolly Parton, and she's like, you all mind if I played pinball with you? And she came in and they were playing pinball on a Dolly Parton pinball machine.
That's right.
Can you imagine? What a story. But let's not take anything away from Ed Pilling and Greg Godovitz. I reached out to Ed Pilling. I said, do you mind is it okay if we do a live interview with you? And Ed Pilling from the band Flood. Everybody knows the song Cousin Mary. What a fabulous song and a fabulous band Flood was. Ed is just an amazing singer. What a voice. And he said, sure, come on up to my house on this date and I'll do a live interview with you. Let me see if I can get Greg to come up here as well. So, of course, we show up. Here they are. They have bongos set up. They have chairs set up. They have a PA set up. And they actually played like 3 or 4 or 5 songs during our live interview that I did with them. And you know what? Greg still sounded great when he sang. And hell, so did Ed Pilling. How about that day?
Yeah, that was another one that was in a completely different way, but the similarity with that and the Terry Draper thing is showing up and the interview being the complete opposite of what you were expecting. I remember pulling up there in the car that day and seeing the full production. Like what Barry's talking about here, you got to understand, these guys had the banner set up. They had the table there with the mixing board on it. They had the mic, the amps, the guitars, the bongos, the tambourines. I mean, these guys went all out. And in the little community Ed lives in up there, they had all the neighbors came out driving around their golf carts, remember?
Yeah, man.
And stopping and listening to us and, clapping along and singing along with the music and everything. It turned into a little block party. It was fantastic. You couldn't have planned it better.
Absolutely. And the video that you took with the cameras, I know you set up 4 cameras or something, and you have the lapel mics on everybody, but the video you took, man, it's just so stunning to watch that online, folks. So this is what we're talking about. Again, Dave produces all the videos that you can go see on This House of Musicians TV on YouTube. So go check that stuff out. Let's talk, Dave, with Gary. Gary, man, what's going on with Walker's K? Where are you at? What am I saying? It's bloody well COVID, but I mean, still, what's going on? Have you been practicing with your guys from the band? Have you written any new songs? I know you guys were number one in South Africa for a while with Walker's K. Where are you at now, man? It's a year later.
Well, we haven't gotten together for live rehearsals yet, of course, but we're still all writing in our studios and, corresponding, of course. We're still doing interviews, which is good, a few interviews a month to promote what we do have out there. And we're just looking forward to getting back together again, but that's probably going to be a few weeks yet. We're just making sure, But besides that, just trying to promote the band on social media, basically.
Sure, Gary. Well, that's awesome, buddy. You have a great band. You're a great guitar player, great singer. Why don't you cue up one of your songs, Walker's K songs, because we're still going to continue to do the ads and stuff during this show. Why don't you cue your favorite song up there, and maybe in 10 minutes we'll play it and then continue with the ads and talk about the song and whatnot. Would you do that for us?
Sure, that would be great. Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy. Right on. Dave Clayton, now, what did you say you just bought today? Go to? A camera.
I decided to invest in a new camera for all the shooting I do, and it'll help out with doing the videos and stuff like that as well. So I'd have a hard time. I'm one of those people. I'd have a hard time if I was up, a gun to my head, forced to, boil things down to one hobby out of everything I got going on. I'd have a hard time deciding if that would have to be, music or photography. So it's, I've been humming and hawing back and forth about picking this thing up, and I figure thanks to getting a decent tax return and a new job starting, I figure what the hell, treat myself a little bit.
Good for you, man. And you know what? We're going to do a live interview in 2 weeks, Saturdays, at Classy Chassis, which is a motorcycle shop in Lakefield, with Dale Harrison, the drummer, Dale Harrison. So we're going to have another video on this House of Musicians TV, another live video with Dale Harrison. Now, Dale has drummed for the Headstones and written music with the Headstones. He's also played drums for, Alana Miles on tour with Alana Miles around the world. So I know in 2 weeks we're all going to get together and go up to Classy Chassis. I'm looking forward to that, Dave.
Yeah, that's going to be, I'm sure Dale has some pretty crazy stories, and just being around Classy, who the hell knows what's going to happen up there. Well, Josh and Charlene are amazing. They support this show, and they support our HD Rock riding group, motorcycle riding group, to its fullest. They help us collect so much money for sick kids and the things that they do. So shout out to Classy Chassis. Looking forward to coming up there in 2 weeks and doing a live interview with Dale Harrison from the Headstones, and again, Alana Miles. So that'll be a lot of fun. That should be awesome.
Hey. Yeah, it'll be great. Let's talk a bit about, I want to do a little, check this out. I want to do a little this day in music. So March the 1st, this day in music in 1973, I was 8 years old. Guess what? Dark Side of the Moon was released. Okay. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Now, it was generally regarded as Pink Floyd's masterwork. The qualities of Dark Side of the Moon have perhaps been taken for granted in recent years. Now, this is something I'm just reading. But a return to it with fresh ears reminds the listener of its strengths. Now, it says, I'm going to just skip over a little bit here. Roger Waters said in 2003 that it was an expression of political, humanitarian empathy that was desperate to get out. He said it was about all the pressures and difficulties and questions that crop up in one's life and create anxiety, and the potential you have to solve them or choose the path that you're going to walk. The band initially convened in 1971 and January 1972 at Decca's West Hampstead Studios in Broadhurst Gardens, London, and then at a warehouse owned by the Rolling Stones at 47 Bermondsey Street, South London. One of the musical elements to become Us and Them already existed, having begun life as a rejected musical sequence by Richard Wright. For Antonio Zabrisky's Point, another to become Brain Damage was a piece of Roger Waters created in the writing session of the Metal-y album in January of that year. So, 1973, Dark Side of the Moon. What kind of impact has that album had on the world? Dave.
I don't know. Gary?
Well, I of course I was a little bit older. I was in let's see, you said 73. I was in high school. So that when I first heard that, first of all, I always liked Pink Floyd because they were a progressive rock band. They weren't your mainstream pop rock stuff, and a little bit out there. But I remember just looking at the album cover and reading the liner notes and seeing all that. I was very, very impressed with that work. And then, of course, when I heard it, Pink Floyd is a very, 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 very simplistic band as far as instrumentation is concerned, but what they write is very, very deep and difficult. So I was always I was always turned on by it, so I loved it. I loved the whole album.
That's the thing. I mean, when that thing came out, I was only 3 when it came out, but I remember going through high school, Floyd was one of the big bands, but none of us had any concept of the philosophical or metaphorical implications of their lyrics. You know what I mean? It was just cool shit to listen to. But as you grow older and you grow to appreciate the stuff more and more, you're like, whoa, damn. It's it blows you away.
For sure. And I think a lot of it is what amazing production. I think that has a lot to do with it. The sounds that we're listening to when we hear the album Dark Side of the Moon, you listen to the album. And you know what? I don't think there was very much like that at that time either, was there? It's like Gary said, there was lots of pop rock, if you want to call it that. But to go as deep, I don't even know how to explain it, but to go as deep as Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, it was just something that was not really out there at the time. And boy, it sure grabbed a lot of people.
Well, I put Pink Floyd in this. I get into some arguments with some other musicians, friends of mine about this from time to time, because like Jimi Hendrix, for example, as much as I love Hendrix, I would never call him one of the greatest guitarists in the world. I could name 1,000 guitarists who are technically better than he was. What he was best at was innovating. He did things that blew people's minds. He was a damn good guitarist, but the way he did it and how he did it and the sounds he came up with and just everything about him, the way he innovated, the way he developed the guitar, he took it to a whole new level. Pink Floyd did the same thing pretty much with an entire genre of music, right? Just the way they conveyed their message, the sounds they conveyed, the emotions that invoked, et cetera, and so forth. So I put them in this classification of innovators, as opposed to, and they are fine musicians in their own right, but I think they were predominantly innovators more so than being just simply musicians.
And I have to agree. I would agree. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bear.
No, go ahead, buddy. I was going to say exactly, Gary, what you're going to say right now.
Yeah, I agree with that, because a lot of times you always hear on these interviews, not our interviews personally, but people, they look at these guitar players as like, phenomenal and they're God and this and that. And you know what? A lot of them are very, very good at what they do, or we wouldn't know their names. Okay. So they did something right. However, as Dave said, a lot of these guitarists were innovators with sound and technique, and, Jimi Hendrix playing a reverse stock guitar left-handed, the whole thing. He's an innovator. And that's when I look at a musician and someone always says, who's your favorite guitarist? Well, I don't really have a favorite of anything because I like songs. The song is what brings the guitarist out. So if you listen to like Eddie Van Halen, that's the god to everybody. You're walking along a McQuaid and everyone's trying to play Eruption. Okay, big deal. That was already done. Do something new, okay? So the point is, I look at what did Eddie Van Halen bring to the table. Now, besides his technique and everything, I loved a lot of their music, and I didn't like some of it, but it was innovation, as Dave said. I look at the musician as what they brought in a song, what they brought to the table to put out there for the world to hear. I don't judge them on individual, like saying, oh, they're the greatest, guitar player or drummer that ever lived. I mean, why would...
I heard a story.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I heard a story one time about Hendrix, going back to him for a second. I believe it was centered around Monterey Pop Festival. And it's a famous video you can watch. It's one of those shows. Well, anyway, the story I heard was that he was backstage like an hour before he went on, resoldering his pickups and switches and stuff like that. He went on stage and he's playing, the upside down stringed Strat, and there's a clickable pot on it and a toggle switch. And the guitar, he smashed it, burned it, and threw it into the crowd. So we never got an argument rages on to this day about what that toggle switch did and what that clickable pot did that gave him that sound at that Monterey Pop Festival, right? Mm-hmm. And if you watch the video, it was phenomenal. He sounded incredible. So to this day, 50 years, 60 years later, people are still arguing about what he did. That's the kind of innovation I'm talking about. The guy was, he was a horrible guitarist. You know what I mean? Sit down. I bet if you sat down and asked him what a pentatonic chord was, he wouldn't be able to answer you.
Right.
But the emotion he conveyed through that instrument, through the sound that he went out of his way to develop or experiment with, both, that's where the genius lied. That's what it was all about. And music can be either way. It's that's the beauty of it, right? It's all subjective. It's whatever moves your soul, like Barry always says. That's the beauty of it. That's
right. And another prime example is the band Boston. Everyone says, oh, I hate them, right? But look at Tom Schultz. Again, the innovation and the inventions he made and the things that, recording stuff on subpar equipment in his basement, but he knew how to use it. He knew how to put things together. He knew how to mix. And before he had, at that time, the highest selling album in the history of music ever in 1975-76. And, of course, that record's been broken since. But the point is, why? Because of the innovation he did. And, so, yeah.
Yeah, guys, and you're both absolutely right. I love the fact that you guys are talking about, from what I got from this, is that everybody's going to have their favorite guitarist and call that guitarist God. Now, they're all good. And it's not like you say, the guitarist, it's the whole band together that makes what happens.
Right.
It makes the lovely feeling that you have, the little warm and fuzzy feeling you get is from the whole band. The singer has to be right on or good. The drummer has to be good. The bass player has to be good. The keyboard, I don't mean good, but at least all jiving together. So a lot of people say Clapton's God. A lot of people will say Hendrix was the best. And that doesn't matter, man. There are so many great guitar players. Even today, there are 15-year-olds out there that are super amazing guitar players. It's what you do with the guitar. And I've learned after 56 years, it's the notes that you don't play that make you great.
That's right. It's always what you don't play. And again, when you pick a musician, a drummer, keyboardist, guitarist, even a vocalist, unless they put something out a cappella just themselves of, an evening with Jimi Hendrix and no other backup musicians, you're listening to the songs of what these artists have done. And of course, their talent is on those tracks. But it's the whole band, as you say, Barry, right? You got a bass player, a keyboardist, a percussionist, what have you. And that's what you remember. You remember a song by Hendrix, or Eric Clapton, whatever. You don't just remember, it's not just him going out on stage in a stool with one guitar and just playing solos for 2 hours. So you got to give the band credit, right? That's what I look at.
Well, it's all about the karma in the band. Like you're right. You can judge a singer based on his or her individual talent by listening to them a cappella, more or less. But when you put them in that band, you're judging the whole thing and how they feed off each other and interact with each other. And generally speaking, I think it holds true that if a band doesn't have that karma, if they don't gel, they just don't simply sound good. Not every band out there is going to be Fleetwood Mac, right? Where they can tear each other's heads off as soon as they get off stage, but still sound good on stage.
Right. Good point. That's a great point.
No kidding. Yeah, absolutely, guys.
Fleetwood Mac is definitely the exception to the rule.
And by the way, speaking of Fleetwood Mac, there looks like there may be an original, as you know, a reunion tour of all the original folks.
Wait a sec, Gary. We saw them 2 years ago. They're already doing this. Me and Tam went to see them in Toronto. They're already doing the reunion thing.
Well, they're putting out, recently as last week, Mick Fleetwood put out a news thing through Rolling Stone and stuff that he says that we'd like to get on a tour with all the original members. So he meant just because of COVID, they want to come back and, do that.
Yeah, or maybe Lindsey Buckingham may not have been touring with them when me and TJ saw them 2 summers ago. Maybe Buckingham wasn't with them, but now he's going to come with them. That could be it, the original members. Maybe so.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do this. Gary, I know we talked about Walker's K. Let's go ahead and play one of your songs. And then while you're doing this, Gary, there's a special song that me and Dave recorded for our motorcycle group called, which is Harley Davidson Riders of Canada. We wrote a song. I wrote a song. I guess Dave came up with the idea on his bass. So it's really, I contribute the song to Dave. I want to talk about the song. But we'll play it first, but it's called Chrome Flyer. Now, I think you have all the ICO songs there, Gare. So if you could shuffle through and find Chrome Flyer, maybe in 20 minutes from now, we could play that, and then me and Dave could talk about when we recorded that. How, would that work for you, sir?
Yeah, for sure. After this song, we'll go to a commercial break, I believe, and then when we come back, I'll go through the files and see, and if I don't have it, I'll ask you to send it to me really quick.
You're going to play that whole song? Holy cow, there goes the rest of the show.
Well, hey,
it's I guess it is, Vita, buddy.
I guess it is 7 or 8 minutes long, Gary. If you only wanted to play 5 and cut
no.
And Dave, we could go longer too, man. I mean, like, we're having fun. I think this is the most relaxed.
You always know when the DJ needs to take a shit when they put on Inagata Davida or Chrome Flyer.
Well, there you go. Now, watch your language. Now, I think I've never been this relaxed and doing a show because, of course, you're a little on edge when you have artists on the show that you're trying to interview. Some I've met, some I have not beforehand, some I've talked to on the phone, some I have not, but I'm really enjoying this show tonight. I feel so relaxed with you guys and that we could almost talk about anything except for having a poop while the DJ is playing Inagata Davida.
Right.
Asshole. Did I just say that? I'm sorry. No swearing on the show. Now, folks, you are listening to this House of Musicians radio show with Gary LaBarr and Dave Poopy Pants Go-To Clayton tonight. And we're just sitting here having a blast. I had 2 artists bail on me this week because they're doing something has come up for both of them, and I appreciate that. That's perfectly fine. So I just threw Dave into the mix so you could see how goofy he is tonight, folks. But here we are, this House of Musicians. Yeah, there you go, Dave. Hey. This House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101. Right now, we're going to listen to one of Gary LaBarr's songs. Gary, of course, is a producer of this show. He's got a wonderful band called Walker's K. Gary, I'm assuming this is one that you wrote, you sang, and you're playing probably multiple instruments on, correct?
I played every instrument except the leads. Mike, my band partner, I'm not a lead player, but all the guitars, bass, drums, everything is me.
Awesome, buddy. That's cool. Folks, here we go. We're going to listen.
Oh, you there?
Call from Tonka. 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
I think so.
I got to figure out when somebody calls me how to keep doing what I'm doing. I know I do put the phone on to do not disturb, but it doesn't seem to work. Anyway, nor here nor there. Where was I, folks? We're going to listen to Walker's K song, Gary LaBarr's band, and then we're going to do a couple of shout out to the sponsors and thank you to the sponsors that we have. And then we'll be right back in a few minutes. We'll talk about the Walker's K song and carry on the show from there. Folks, you're listening to this House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
This feeling when I look into your eyes. Please tell me what's on your mind. Is it something that reverses your lifetime? Please tell me, 'cause I'm not blind. What you gonna say when you turn around and you walk away? Is it something you can't do 'cause you know that you can stay? Tell me where you wanna go when I see you leaving, then I will know. Whoa. There's a secret that I know is in your mind. Please tell me that it's not lies. When I see you, I you're not fine. Please help me, 'cause I'm not blind. Tell me what you're gonna say when you turn around and you walk away. Is it something you can't do, 'cause you know that you can't stay? Tell me where you wanna go when I see you leaving, then I will know. Whoa, what you're gonna say when you turn around and you walk away. Is it something you can't do, 'cause you know that you can't stay? Tell me where you wanna go when I see you leaving, then I will know. Tell me what you're gonna say when you leave me now, my baby. Tell me what you're gonna do when you slip away. You tell me that you'd always be true. Tell me all the lies you have, so I won't believe you so bad. Tell me all the things you say to blow my mind when you slip away. Whoa.
Hey, great listeners. Welcome back to this House of Musicians radio show. Tonight we are just having a fun old time. Me, Dave Clayton, Go-To Clayton, and Gary LaBarr. Gary, let me just read an email real quick here from Amin. Amin says, hello tonight. Love you from El Paso, Texas. Rock on. Thank you for that email, Amin. El Paso, Texas. Wow. Now that brings to mind the Marty Robbins song, out in the West Texas town of El Paso. Anyway, I won't continue on. I don't know why that just came into my mind. Gary, we just played one of your songs. Let's talk about that song real quick and how you came up with it and where you recorded it.
Well, the name of the song is Tell Me, and it's just your basic man and girl together, and the girl's cheating on the guy, and she originally tells him that she's not, and then he finds out a little bit more that she is, and then he confronts her, and then she admits it. So it's a basic crap that goes on in relationships, and we just recorded that between my house and Mike's house, the lead guitar player in the band.
Awesome, man. Great song. And
thank you.
Now, how many songs? Do you have a whole album?
Yes. Well, as far as the band, we have 40 songs. Yeah, 40 songs. And the album, that song and another song is on an EP. So, yeah.
Awesome. Good for you, man. It sounds great. And and keep doing what you're doing, bud, because there's nothing better than writing and recording songs. It's so much fun.
Oh, for sure. It's great. It's absolutely great.
Absolutely. Let's talk about, what do I want to talk about? Okay, let me just give you guys a 1963. Check this out. First of all, Gary, did you end up finding Chrome Flyer? We could cue that up for 5 minutes from now or 10 minutes from now?
Yeah, I just did, actually.
You're awesome, buddy. 1963, George Harrison, the Chiffons, okay, the Chiffons, the Chiffons. I'm assuming that was a band, one of them bands in 1963 where there's 4 guys singing or something. But they started a 4-week run at number 1 on the U.S. Signal chart with a song called He's So Fine, which was a number 16 UK hit. But in 1971, George Harrison was taken to court, accused of copying the song on his 1970 My Sweet Lord. And he was ordered to pay $587,000 or $300 American dollars to the writers. I never knew that before.
Huh.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
I mean, I've actually, not me personally, but I've known some people that have gone to court about copyright infringement, and the fines that they had to pay because they were found guilty were nothing like that at all.
But let's talk about this, guys. There's only so many patterns of guitar chords, keyboard chords, and rhythms that you can come up with, and then all of a sudden you're automatically copying. How many times have I sat down and wrote a song because I love J.J. Cale, not necessarily copy one of his, purposely copied one of his songs at all, but just his style of music.
It's not that, though. That's not what they get you on. You can use the chords, you can use all that stuff. It's the melody. If you're if the melody's close, it doesn't matter if a guy's using a G chord to a D to a C to a D, and you do the same thing. And even if the rhythm is similar, that's not what copyright judges look at. They look at, let me hear the melody. Now, if that's close, within a note or two, that could be infringement.
So if I wrote a song that sounded like Happy Birthday to You, and I wrote different lyrics to it, I could be sued by the guy that made the melody for Happy Birthday to You.
Not Happy Birthday, though. That's a bad example because that copyright expired. Yeah, it's public domains. But but you're right. Yes, if I took a song, let's say I wrote a new song in my band and I went to something that the Inner City Outlaws did. Doesn't matter about the rhythm or the chords because there are only so many chords and stuff. But let's say my melody was close to one of your songs. Let's say, for instance, I'm writing a song and, I'm saying, okay, these chords are cool. And all of a sudden I want to do a song that you did close to it, like Alone Again or something like that. And you heard it and you said, wait a minute. That song has parts in it where if people just turned on the radio and they heard that, they would think it's my song before, the rest of the song comes in. That's a problem, Gary, right there.
Right. Gary, could you just go ahead and do that? Like, am I going to get $500,000 if I sue you?
Well, I don't, for sure.
I'll split it with you.
Yeah, I know that.
You have insurance, right? You have insurance to cover that? So
I do. I do have insurance to cover that. But the point is, that's how people do it. They hear a great song written by Barry Smith or Dave, and they say, you know what, that's a cool melody. I think I could squeeze that in.
That actually kind of explains it. There's one that's driven me nuts for 20 years. There's a song, I can't remember what the name of it is. It's by U2. And it comes on the radio now and again, it drives me nuts. Because it's not that I don't like U2 or anything, but the song is a direct, complete, unapologetic ripoff of Ted Nugent's Stranglehold.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Stranglehold has that completely unmistakable bass line, which is the essence of the whole song, right? And the U2 song is the exact same. I think it's like an octave higher or something.
Mm-hmm.
But the melody is the vocal on top because the rhythm behind it, the entire song, is just so repetitive throughout the entire thing. But it's identical. Like, it's not even a note off, man. It's the same exact song.
Yeah,
but
that's crazy.
The melody of the vocals is entirely different.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with U2 too is a lot of their songs. There was a clip I saw on YouTube about them playing. I think a guy was playing a guitar and going, check this out. And he played about 10 U2 songs and they were all identical, like really identical, just different tempos and stuff.
Yeah, I can never remember the name of that damn song, but I'm telling you, man, if you lined up Stranglehold and that U2 song together, they're the Olsen twins, man.
That's crazy. Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of that. You can compare a lot of songs to a lot of other songs. I mean, how else would people get a feel to write and be creative if they didn't have influence from other artists? I'm sure you try to stay away from copying exact, but there's a lot of influence and a lot of stuff is very similar. Dave Clayton, let's talk about you for a moment here. I know you're an amazing bass player. I just want to know, laugh all you want, but one day I think we said, let's get together and play. And I'm like, Dave's not going to be able to play. What am I doing here? And then we got together and played and you were absolutely incredible. So good, in fact, that you that you came up with a rhythm on your bass, if that's the proper way to say it, to write a song that we did for our motorcycle group, which we're going to play here in a minute. But I want to ask you how you were influenced to play bass instead of guitar or keyboards or whatever. And in general, how, when you were younger, this is what I ask all the artists that come on the show. In general, how were you influenced by music? Was it your big brother with albums, vinyl? Was it your mom and dad? Did they play? So just tell me how you were influenced and how you got into playing bass guitar.
Well, no brothers and sisters, but I had a cousin that I was really close to, who was a couple of years older than me. I used to hang out at his place, and he'd play AC/DC and stuff like that. Just old school rock and roll that we had back in the 70s and 80s. And that was a big thing. I got pictures of my 4th birthday party in my basement of the house I grew up in that has KISS posters all over the friggin' walls.
Cool.
I was a card-carrying member of the KISS Army. I've since come to my senses, but that's beside the point.
Well, back in the day, it was cool to be a big KISS fan, and we all were. It was just cool.
Yeah. Well, when I was 6, my grandfather bought me a guitar and sent me for guitar lessons at Cosmo Music there back in Scarborough, and I did that for a couple of years. But then I got turned on to Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden, and Geezer Butler and Steve Harris changed my world. Just I don't know, man. Even at that age, I was just blown away by Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath, and respectively Geezer and Steve. And I've spent 40 years, I guess, trying to emulate Steve's talent and Geezer's sound.
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially it. But along the way, I've discovered things, everything from like Jaco Pastorius to Eva Cassidy to even Stanley Clark and whatnot. I don't know. I just appreciate good music. Whether it's Motown or the blues. Just as soon sit down and listen to the Jackson 5 as I would Stevie Ray Vaughan some days. Just whatever mood you're in, kind of thing, right? But that's
absolutely
what I love about it, and it's what keeps me going. I'm not the world's greatest bassist, but I love it. You're not the world's greatest guitarist, but you keep going. Why? Right? Because of the way it makes you feel.
Absolutely, buddy. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk about how we got together to record, or at least, you know what? It slips my mind. Do you remember the first time we got together to play?
To play?
Yeah,
Ooh,
somehow it happened because we ended up recording this song at Sideman Studio, Chrome Flyer.
The first time it comes to memory that you and I sat down with instruments in our hands was that day in your basement with Bill. And
I remember
the very genesis of Chrome Flyer. That's the first time I remember sitting down with an instrument with you. I'd be surprised if there was one before that.
Yeah, I agree. And now I remember that we were here doing that actual sitting down here with Bill Ritchie. So I remember, I think, saying to you, come up with a rhythm on your bass and we'll write a song. I didn't think at that time it was going to turn into, we might want to say, the anthem for HD rock at the moment, which is Harley Davidson Riders of Canada, our motorcycle riding group, Chrome Flyer. I just don't think it, but you came up with the melody, if that's the correct, I think it is. So you came up with the melody on the bass and pretty much created this song, and we all kind of joined in and turned it into Chrome Flyer.
Yeah, which I still, thanks to Angel, I still affectionately call it the Rob Reiner song. Every time I hear it, all I hear is, hey, Rob Reiner. But anyway.
Absolutely. Well, like Angel's playing drums on it. Bill Ritchie is playing guitar, and Steve Burnett is playing guitar. Now, these guys traded off on guitar through the whole song. Steve would play for two beats or 2 bars, and then Bill would play 2 bars. You can tell the difference in the sounds of the guitars, but they absolutely rock it. It's really a guitar song. And these 2 guys sat together and when we recorded this, and they just fed off each other. And what a great sound that these 2 guys came up with.
Absolutely. And that day in the studio, I remember like it was yesterday. It was just so much fun. It was just, man, that was just incredible. And everything was, you had the idea there towards the end, you'll hear a part where everybody is singing. And that everybody is everybody that Barry just mentioned, but Tammany is in there and Lizzie is in there. And everybody that was in the studio, you had them all huddle around the microphone and sing, hey, Chrome Flyer. Remember?
And clap.
And clap, yeah. And
absolutely.
and Bill trying to distract me and slap me in the head and everything while I'm trying to get my bass track down.
Absolutely.
It was just a hell of a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, and I think that the song came out pretty darn good. So why don't we go ahead and play it anyway, and then maybe we can talk a little more about it after. Folks, I have Dave Clayton on the show. We also have Gary LaBarr, the producer of the show, on this evening as well. And, of course, Dave's the producer of YouTube's This House of Musicians TV on YouTube. But this is a song, again, that Dave came up with the melody on his bass when we first, and I couldn't believe that you played so well. I'm like, okay, Dave says he can play bass. And how many people have you met that say, yeah, I can play guitar or I can play bass, and then you sit down with them and they're not as good as you think they could be, or not could be, but not as good as you would want to be if you're going to record or whatever. But Dave, I was superbly impressed with the way that you played your bass. And so anyway, you came up with this melody, man, for Chrome Flyer, and then I wrote the lyrics and we turned it into a song called, again, Chrome Flyer. And this is
only 28 minutes long.
Yeah, and it's a long song. When did we do this? Like now 5-6 years ago, maybe?
Oh, it's got to be. I don't know, but yeah, it's got to be at least 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, maybe even longer. But folks, so again, I just want to brag on Dave's bass playing and this song. Have a listen. I also want to compliment Steve Burnett and Bill Ritchie, who has since passed. But he played on this song too, and they're doing dual guitars back and forth, answering each other, playing guitars. We have Angel on drums, and this was recorded. Am I forgetting anybody, Dave?
No. Well, Tam and Lizzie are singing on it as well and clapping their hands. Yes, that's indeed, right. They are. This is something we did in the studio for our riding group, which again is called Harley Davidson Riders of Canada. This song's called, folks, Chrome Flyer. You're listening to This House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
Okay.
Blue skies, black top, I'm all ready to cruise.
Hey, welcome back, good listeners. We have Dave Clayton on the show this evening, producer of This House of Musicians TV, and in 2 weeks we're going to do a live interview with Dale Harrison, drummer of the Headstones and Atlanta Miles. I guess it'll be a live interview when we do it, and then it'll be made into a 1 hour a movie, I guess you would call it, Dave. I don't know, an interview. Dave will put some
interview, yeah.
Yeah, an interview. Sorry, and Dave will put some clips of Dale playing drums and whatnot. We're going to do that at Classy Chassis, the motorcycle shop up in Lakefield. Chrome Flyer, Dave. What kind of bass did you play on that? I mean, like, the bass is outstanding, and what I mean by that is it stands out in the song. You can really hear it really well in the song. A lot of songs. I know you said that you grew up listening to Iron Maiden, or you loved Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath. Sometimes when you're listening to songs, it's hard to pick the bass out, but it's certainly predominant in Chrome Flyer. What guitar did you use?
That was my favorite one. My old, it's a 1982 PV Foundation S active. It's a backbreaker. It weighs a good 48 pounds, that thing. Which I'm actually, you and your guitar collection have me jonesing. I've been wanting, I don't know if you remember the PVT 40 bass. It was their first bass they ever made, but it's famous for its sound, because it sounds like anything from like a Squier Music Man to a Ricky 4001 or a Ricky 4003. It broke a lot of molds when it came out. It was a fantastic bass. I'm trying to keep my eye out for one of those under $2,000. But
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, I played the Foundation S active on that one, and I like a lot of the Southern blues, like the Stevie Ray and the ZZ Top and whatnot. When I came up with that riff for that song, that's kind of what I had in mind, sort of a mescalero kind of feel to it. It didn't necessarily come out that way. I think there was a little bit of a flavor to it. By the time we added the melodies and whatnot, it changed a little, but I still think I don't know. I love the personality of that song. I think a lot of the HD Rock influence and a lot of who HD Rock is, like how we act when we're together and whatnot, kind of comes through in that, and that's something I'm kind of proud of.
And by the way, guys, by the way, there's a timestamp on the song for Chrome Flyer that says August 3rd, 2014.
Nice.
There you go.
That's 7 years. Beautiful. Yeah. And you're right, buddy. I created this motorcycle Facebook group in 2011. And thanks to Chris Palmer and Kim Palmer and Billy Wilson and Deb Murdoch and a lot of people, I could just keep listing names all night. It's turned into quite a community of like-minded motorcycle riders, and we always have such a great time. Come and go as you please. There's really no rules, and we really have such a great time. Everybody's so cool when we're all riding together and whatnot, and that season's just starting up again now. I actually got the bike out this morning and got out for my first ride, rode to Toronto with TJ, and got on the highway and let her rip. So it felt really good to get the bike out. The bike worked flawless, so I'm happy about that. Put some air in the tires, put the new battery in. But definitely, the Chrome Flyer is definitely kind of the anthem song at the moment for the Harley Davidson Riders of Canada Facebook group. So there's a lot of people that make that such a wonderful group.
Yeah, and we intentionally made it long because it was written to be a video, right? It was written to be the look back of the year, right? And we had so much content that we had to get in. And, if we didn't want to show pictures and video clips for like a split second each, we needed a 10-minute song to do it. So that's why it's so long.
Absolutely. We got lots of people's pictures of them and their bikes riding and whatnot. So that video turned out great, which is also on YouTube as well. Well, guys, you know what can I say? I had a great show. Like I said, it was very relaxed. I didn't feel like, too much pressure. Sometimes, like I say, when you have artists on the show, especially if they're very popular artists, I get a little nervous, make sure everything flows smoothly. But today was just kind of let's go balls out and have a little bit of fun. And I think we accomplished that. Dave, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you what you do for this show in general. And I look forward to doing this live interview with Dale Harrison. And of course, you're going to bring the whole production up to Classy Chassis in 2 weeks. So I look forward to that. Thank you for being on the show, Dave.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for asking. I look forward to that Big Mac you promised me.
It'll probably be a McDouble because they're cheaper. So
Figures.
there you,
awesome. Great.
There you go. And Gary LaBarr, thank you for joining us and sitting in with us tonight. You have wonderful music out there yourself. I really appreciate it. And I think we just had a lot of fun tonight.
Thank you very much for allowing me to play a song. And Dave, always a pleasure. I haven't seen Dave in a very, very long time, but I always thought the guy was fantastic and one of the most creative guys I've ever met in my life. So, thanks again, guys, for sure. Oh, for sure, guys.
Well, my wife says he's very, very intelligent, and I'm still waiting to see that myself. But she seems, and she's usually right, so I guess I'll go with that.
Yeah. Okay.
He's been wrong once or twice in her life, right?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that part out. But anyway, thank you both, guys. I had a blast, and what a great show we had. And to the listener, I say thank you for being here, and always dance and sing, and let the music bring your soul to the surface for all the world to see. Until next time, have a shuffle your feet kind of week, and good night. You've been listening to This House of Musicians on Reality Radio 101.